Go ahead, I have to fix this.
Torah or Parshat Vayeshev, page 58, second column. We're starting at the bottom paragraph. Or there's only one paragraph. Okay, again, Torah, Parshat Vayeshev, page 58, second column. So after he explained the whole inyan of Chassidus and Menorah and Karbonis and all that, he says, Mamata Nova, now he's going back to the beginning of Maimed about Chanukah. The beginning of the Maimed, the Rebbe asked a number of questions. Why did the Chacham make the nest over the Pach Shemen? And what's the inyan there is Halal Veidah, and what, all these things. So he said, Mashem Mevorchim Lad L'Knei Chanukah. What we say, Bracha Lad L'Knei Chanukah, and what does it have to? What's the whole inyan of Chanukah Samizbeach and Chanukah Sabayis? We know Chanukah is called Chanukah, which is an expression of chinuch. So simply the reason why Chanukah is called Chanukah, because they rededicated the Mizbeach, they rededicated the Mishkan and the Beis Hamikdash and so on. It says in the pasuk, Chanech lenar al pi darkei. You have to educate a child from the youngest of ages, based on his level, meaning, because when you want to start teaching a child, he's very far from it, therefore, you need to educate him. How do you start originating chinuch with kids? The Rambam says, you give him you give him a lot of gifts. But that's how you start. The Rambam says that's what you do. You give him candy, you give him gifts. That's what the Rambam says. In other words, like this, chinuch means to educate somebody. It's similar to the concept of an uman. In order, like you want to learn how to be a sheikhet, so you have to learn how to make the knife, perfect, no blemishes, no nicks, no nothing. So it takes training. It takes training. A person is not born automatically to know how to make a chalaf, how to make the sheikhet knife properly. It takes a lot of training and work and everything. So he says the same thing as chinuch. What do you mean chinuch? A kid basically is not connected to chinuch anyway, to learning, to discipline. You have to discipline him, you have to teach him, and so on. The pasuk says we say it in Tillim and benching. Nada yisi gam. Well, we don't say it in benching. Some people say it in benching. Nada yisi gam kanti. So who's the nada yisi? The Medrash says Sadi Shaleisiv Amru. This the Sad the Malach of Yosef says Shachayis Hamispachet B'chol Ha'olamis, that this chayis that comes, it manifests itself in all worlds. L'chol chada from shiri delay, every word accordingly. You have atzilas b'ritzei asiyah. You have the world of inanimate plant, animal, and human. You have the world of the ocean. You have the world of dry land. Like it says, V'unad es b'nei villa, which is Shem Aktana Rochel. It says, V'unad es b'nei villa. What do you mean? Yosef was a Nad b'nei villa. Nad means in Basik, he used to hang around them a lot. It doesn't mean he was a kid with b'nei villa. Navu Nar B'nei Villa means he hung out. Rashi says with B'nei Villa B'nei Shtadopa. Or it says Shemak Tanu Rachel. It says the older one was Leah. V'Shem Haktana Rachel. What's Haktana? Haktana. Haktana. B'chinas Malchus He'achrena Shel Shem Avaya. Shem Haktana. Haktana. Right. Haktana is Haktana. That refers to the lower hay. There's the first hay of Yud Kei Vav Kei, then there's the second layer of level of Yud Kei Vav Kei. Because that creations become existing is bechinas ktana, is a very limited level of godliness. Because it's only word of Hashem's mouth. And one word, as Alter Rebbe explains in Parakhov of Tanya, compared to the Koyach of Dibur, Koyach of Machshav, well, that is nothing. And not only that, why is world called Ktana? Because it's Gvulim U'Mitzarim. It's limited. Compared to infinite Elokus, a finite world is called tiny in level. Huh? Yeah, but he says, but over there it says Shem Haktana. By the way, Katan and Ktana is just male and female. No, that's a different story. There's Katan, which means a minor boy, and Ktana means a minor girl. Here he's emphasizing the Haktana. And also, why is, in Hebrew, Yud is masculine and Hey is feminine? Right? Because Yud is Chachma, and the 6 feet is Zoh, which are the givers, and Hey is the Bina, the receiver, and Malchus, the receiver. But he says no, that Tana, the main emphasis is Haktana, which is the Hektana, which is the level of Malchus that creates the world Yeshmiyai. Or Gabi Ein Sof Baruch Hu. And therefore, this limited world, compared to Ein Sof, which Kishmei Kenu, his name is what it means, Ein Le Sof, which is infinite, therefore Nikr called Klolos Achayv B'Shem Katnus. The whole world is called tiny. Nothing is there's no connection between world and Hashem. Therefore it says, Mi Yaakov ki kotenhu. The pasuk says about Yaakov ki kotenhu. He was, what do you mean ki koten? Yaakov, what's the level of Yaakov? Mavrich men akotza lakotza. Like we learned, Yaakov v'nos titein emes l'Yaakov. What is Yaakov? The Bria Chaticha in the middle pole of the Beis HaMikdash that went from one end all the way to the next end. It turned the corner and went all the way around. The fact though, that when it says Yaakov, the Bria Chaticha went from one end to the other end, that's a limitation. There's an end. It goes through from the beginning to the end. He said, and that's the level of Yaakov, Kotan, L'gabi Ein Sof. Any limitation, the highest limitation, any limitation is still a limitation. If you would have been here Shabbos morning by Tanya, you would have learned it. We learned that Igeres HaKodesh. But there's no tape to listen to. There's no tape that I know of to listen to. And therefore, in order to bring down audience of mamish bekarbonis, damat tamid v'nedus uktoyes, yeah, in order to bring down. So now we're saying like this: world, any limitation is small. If you want to bring down infinite alokus into a limited thing, the Mizbeach was very small. We're talking about even the big Mizbeach. Yeah? Okay, the Chassidus was on the Mizbeach Hazov, which was very small. But the Mizbeach, there was Lamed Beis Amis by Lamed Beis Amis. 32 Amis was big. But it was still small relative to infinite. L'chein, isnad hu anasiyim l'chanukas ha-Mizbeach. Therefore, the Nesiim brought, in the Kriya that we read Chanukah, right? The Nesiim brought their korbanos. To dedicate the Mizbeach, in other words, like this. The daily korbanos was, right, keves echad, very limited. Right, the 2 korban tmidim every day. Korbanos tmidim. He says that also was brought from the tzibur, communal money. But the Nesiim, lefi shoy b'mayli yosem mishmar klot. So, but he says like this: the Nesiim brought much more korbanos than the daily sacrifices were. Why did they bring so much? You want to give a gift, you give a gift. You have to bring so many gifts. He says, because the Nesiim were on the higher mat, they were big tzaddikim. They were higher than all the other Yidden. Why? That gave the koyach b'karbanos shel Yisrael lahamshich erd v'yom b'yomer b'karbanos shel kol yom v'yom. Everything needs to have lachanukas hamizbeach, right? They brought the korban lachanukas hamizbeach. The Rebbe is explaining, in order to have the ability to bring daily korbanos, they had to dedicate the mizbeach, chinuch, chanukas, dedication, education, It's all the same thing. He said they needed to bring a lot of korbanos, a lot of gifts that gave the koyach for the rest of the Yidden to bring the daily korbanos. And he said, that's the same thing. A similar thing is the korban, the natives that the Chashmonoim lit in the Beis HaMikdash. The Yavanim, like we discussed yesterday, the Yavanim didn't want to kill the Jews. He wanted He just wanted the Jews to become Misyavnim, to become Hellenists. In other words, to do Torah, to do mitzvahs, but not godly. And not only that, commandment, like the Medrash says, that the Yavanim said to the Jews, they wanted the Jews to write on a horn of an ox. That doesn't say, it says chulu, but what the Medrash says that you have no chelik in Hashem. So the question is, why did they make him write dafka on a horn of an ox? Like, what's the purpose of that? He says, Pirish, the fisher call, Chavim. All the goyim, yeshlam nefesh habam mipnei shor. They have a nefesh habamis from the shore of the Merkava. They get from the sediment, the junk, karnayim, the horns, the larfim, the shmorim, the hoofs. In other words, like this. The source of the nefesh habamis comes from Pnei Shor of the Merkava. The difference is, the nefesh habamis, the Rebbe says in Perek Aleph of Tanya, the shorish of the nefesh habamis of a goy is shol shchibas atmeis. The shorish of the nefesh habamis of a Jew comes from klipas noiga. So he says they all come from the shor of Merkava. The goyim's nefesh habamis comes from the horn, which is not part of the body, the hoofs, the junk of the malachim. Shein eil of nechlal mikdusha pnei sharsha b'markava shenesesas and kisei. That therefore they're not part of the animal, the actual shor that lifts up the throne with the adam on it. Right, when the shor lifts up the merkava, nesesas kisei with pnei adam on the kisei, they're not elevating. It's not elevating the shor, the horn, and the hoofs, and that's not part of the body. Cut off the horn, cut off the hoofs, the animal still exists.
But the shor elevates, the hoof elevates, the horn elevates.
No, he says, which comes from Adam Shalakise. And he says, the nefesh habamitz in bechinis Adam shebechayis merkava, dumus echad larbatam, dumus peneam pen Adam. Other places in Chassidus that it comes from the shor of the merkava, but it means from the body of the shor, not from the horns. Therefore, the Yidden have the koyach to bring down Ein Sof, because they come from the level of Adam Shalom Akod. By Yavanim, Niskanu be Yisrael, the Yavanim were jealous of the Yidden, that the Yidden bring down this level of Kedusha. What they want is the Jews should be also nourished from the keren and the heel, the hoofs of the animal. In other words, even when they come into a body and they do mitzvahs, they connect to the Adam Shala Kisei. In other words, that's the infinite level of Elokus that comes down. And that level of Elokus can only come down because only the shor, meaning the nefesh habamis of the Jew, can elevate the Adam Alakisei. The Goyim's nefesh habamis, they don't have Torah mitzvahs, because they're not chelak alakam mimal. Their nefesh habamis is not to elevate the world. Their nefesh habamis is, like we learned, to civilize the world, that a Jew could elevate the world after the world is civilized. That's what Zay mitzvahs b'nei ne'achar, to civilize the world. So he says they were jealous of the Jews, so they wanted the Jews should also be yonik from Keren, which is another stupidity on their point. They should have davened that they should come from a higher level. Said they wanted the Jews to go down lower. Like the expression in Chassidus, you don't make yourself, the Rebbe Marash showed to the Rebbe, the Razah, the Rebbe Rashav's brother, he said, you don't make yourself bigger by making somebody lower. You make yourself greater by becoming greater yourself. It's a famous story. The Rebbe Rashav's older brother was the Razah, Reb Zalman Aaron. Now, Reb Zalman Aaron was short. So he was shorter than the Rebbe Rashav. He was shorter than his younger brother. And he was jealous. He bothered him. So what did he do? They were playing, so he dug a hole in the ground. He made his younger brother stand in the hole. And then he was taller than him. So that's how you become taller. So the Rebbe Marash was watching it. And he called him in. And he said to the Razah, you don't make yourself bigger by putting down somebody else. By making somebody lower, you make yourself greater by making yourself greater. So don't put him down, So the Yevonim, they wanted to they were jealous of the Jews, so they said, no, let the Jews come down to our level. Which was not going to happen. And even though the Yid were weak and few in Ruchnius and in Koyach physical, became also Nafsham HaKiddush Hashem. They had Mesidus Nefesh, but Koyach and Mesidus Nefesh. Oh, Yelem Koyach Lahamshach Torah Mechodesh. They brought down a new Chiddush in Kedusha. V'amshach the Bechinas Chanukah was Matan and Meruba gift from above. Hamshachas Kaiva Yeshua. Like he said before, bringing down the Kaiva, they had of Shin'ai and Nahidin to be Ateret Tefer Sefer. So he said basically what happened in Chanukah. The Yidden were bringing down this great level of Kedusha. The Goyim, the Yevonim took control. They were overpowered the Governor B'nei Hashmonaim. They were very powerful. The Yidden were in Galus, basically, even though they had a Beis Hamikdash, but they were under Greek rule. And they didn't let him keep Shabbos and Mila, and they defiled the women and all that stuff. And they wanted the Jews to write, En lochem chelek al b'kei Yisrael. Why? Because they were jealous of the Jews, and they realized the Jews bring down Koyach Ein Sof, and they didn't want that. So the Yidden, how did they counteract to it? They had Mesidus Nefesh. Even though it was Rabbim b'yad ma'atim and the whole thing, they were weak, spiritually and physically. You had the Koyach Mesidus Nefesh that brought the miracle of Chanukah, which is number 8, which is Beligvol. Was the Mesidus Nefesh of the Chashmonaim, and very few. According to certain opinions, it was mamish a handful of Chashmonaim that fought. Yeah, whatever. It was Yehuda Maccabee, whatever. But they were a handful and they won. And the main thing was that they rededicated the Beis Hamikdash with a miracle that was greater than the Menorah and the Beis Hamikdash. The Menorah and the Beis Hamikdash were only 7. Yeah, and they let it in, so whatever. Menorah Chanukah is 8. And not only that, the Menorah and the Beis Hamikdash eventually stopped. 2,000 years we don't have a Menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. But Chanukah is still going strong.
Did that happen? Did Israel become one country?
What?
Did Israel become one country, or was it still a society?
I don't hear you.
You must know this.
Go find it.
When they won this war against the Yevonim,
Yeah.
there was a one Jewish country, or there was still 2 different countries, Israel and Yehuda?
No, there was one. That was already after it was the middle of the second Beis Hamikdash. You didn't have all those divisions anymore. But the Yidden were in Eretz Yisrael. And the Greeks controlled Eretz Yisrael at that time.
It was because of the Menorah or the Sefer Nefesh?
No, Amunah doesn't get you anywhere if it doesn't come into action. If Amunah is Makif, and you don't have a Rebbe bringing it down into the Panimius, Re'ei Amunah, right? Then it doesn't happen.
But then when it goy don't have this.
No.
Hashem has to say no.
That doesn't bring down Kedusha.
Okay, so when it goy does the ultimate chesed that saves a lot of Jews.
Chassidus Umas Ha'olam, yeah, their nefesh habamis comes from klipas nega. Okay? A regular guy, his nefesh habamis comes shorchis hatmeis. Chassidus Umas Ha'olam, the Rambam defines in Hilchos Melachim, what is the definition of Chassidus Umas Ha'olam? That he keeps the 7 mitzvahs only because Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai that a guy has to keep the 7 mitzvahs. That nefesh habamis is Chassidus Umas Ha'olam.
A boy that saves life of many Jews.
What Mesidas Nefesh is Chassidus Umas Ha'olam. Because they had Mesidas Nefesh for something they didn't have to do. They're not allowed to kill people. But they didn't have to save people by self-sacrificing, endangering their life.
There was no
Huh?
There was no
No, you're kidding, they will risk their lives. When the Alter Rebbe says it's like that, when the Alter Rebbe says at the end of Perak Aleph of Tanya, he quotes the Gemara, the Rabbi said, yeah? I find going that do good. So the answer to this, that they do good, is for their own completeness. The same thing by Yidden. A lot of Yidden will do good because they want to become good, famous, popular, whatever. Yeah? A guy is not shaykh unless they're Chassidus Umas Ha'olam to do a favor, mamish, not for personal gain. Not for personal gain. A Yid is shaykh to do a mitzvah for no personal gain. Or Chassidus Umas Ha'olam. So it doesn't mean that even though the Alter Rebbe said, Ein b'am toiv klau, excuse me, when the Alter Rebbe says, Ein b'am toiv klau, it means no pure good. They do good, but for personal gratification. So it's really for their own completeness.
Wow.